I want to tell you a story about some important numbers. In 2022, a network of local churches, believers, and leaders working with Every Home for Christ were able to present the gospel 189 million times, impacting as many as 436 million lives. Of course, sometimes numbers are hard to follow, or even believe. If you're like me, you might ask, how did they actually make this happen? I'd like you to meet Domingo, a coordinator in the Dominican Republic. As he carries Christ to this community, he had the opportunity to share and pray with all 5 family members at their home. Along the way, he stopped to pray for 3 people he encountered on the street. Because of his heartfelt prayers, they asked him to share the gospel with them. But Domingo wasn't working alone. In fact, most of his time is spent inspiring and empowering local believers with the training and tools they need for evangelism. In just a few hours, believers from this small local church have shared the gospel with 306 people. What happens with Domingo happens in other pockets across the country. Other regional coordinators go to more cities and rural communities to work with other churches. In the DR, the math looks like this. There were 6,252 similar church outreaches throughout the country this year, reaching an astounding 1.9 million individuals with the gospel. How do we know? Well, because we have every church and leader track what they did and share it with us. That's been a critical part of our culture and mission. Now, the Dominican Republic is just one country, so let's look at Peru. It starts with one local leader who mobilizes a group of leaders to work with churches, schools, and individuals. The impact is exponential, as 4.5 million people in both cities and distant remote villages in the Andes were reached just last year. In total, the combined efforts of mobilized believers across South, Central, and North America will carry Christ to more than 43 million people through the transforming message of the gospel. But what about parts of the world where such outreach isn't feasible? Let's start in Albania, where people are somewhat receptive to the gospel, but they're hesitant to invite someone to share it with them. That's why we provide churches with innovative techniques, like providing seeds for their gardens, which opens doors to share the gospel, as well as serving a practical need. This is just one picture of what's happening across Eurasia, where teams reached an additional 69 million people with the gospel. In other parts of the Middle East, fewer churches exist, and sharing the gospel publicly is challenging and often dangerous. The methods differ throughout the world, but the heart of the mission is still the same. Local leaders are equipped to share Jesus. In these regions, leaders and missionaries use creative methods to do whatever it takes to carry Christ to these people, reaching millions of people throughout this challenging part of the world. In Africa, the gospel is spreading like wildfire. Christianity is growing rapidly. We are one part of what God is doing, as thousands of volunteers shared the gospel and millions responded. The problem was these new believers often had no local church to join. That's why our leaders help develop local pastors, providing them with Bibles and training to start thousands of house churches. As these small house churches grow and mature, they begin to multiply and take responsibility for carrying Christ to nearby communities. The Pacific is dotted with tens of thousands of tiny islands, each inhabited by unique communities. Local teams travel in any way possible, whether on foot, by boat, or motorcycle, in countries such as the Philippines and Papua New Guinea, to traverse these isolated areas and spread the love of Jesus. Throughout all of Asia, we will reach over 214 million more people. As amazing as 436 million is, ultimately, it's not about the numbers. It's about people like Maria, who had the chance to personally hear Jesus' good news from a caring local believer who took the time to pray with her and help her connect with the local church, transforming her life.